everybody. It's been a long time since I've sat down and just put on some makeup for you, so I'm going to do that in this video. Today's video is sponsored again by Nordstrom, and again, I want to thank all of you for the amazing support you've given me that allows opportunities like this to come about for me and for you. The focus is Nordstrom Beauty, and particularly some products that I have picked out and purchased on my own from the Charlotte Tilbury line, but I've mixed it in with a few of my other favorites that I've been using, and I recreated the makeup look that I wore pretty much every day on our recent cruise through Alaska. So keep on watching and you'll see how I got this on. So this is the Charlotte Tilbury Light Wonder Youth Boosting Perfect Skin Foundation, and I've used this a couple of ways. If you're just looking for like a little tint on your face, basically like a BB cream, this is great for that, because you're about to see it does give some coverage. It even says on the bottle, just for a daily sort of luminous tint, blend a small amount into your skin. It is buildable, but what I found it was great for, and what it says on the website about it, is it's a really good sort of, basically like a primer, just one more step before your foundation. And I did find that even though the foundation I'm about to use lasts all day, this gives your skin just a little bit extra. Okay, now this is my newest favorite find. I've mentioned this before in other videos. It's the Dior Forever foundation. It is amazing. I had gone to Nordstrom, gotten a sample, and just immediately went back to the store when I used it up and bought the whole bottle. So I have it in the shade 15, which is definitely my summer shade. I use 3 pumps, which is too much. I always end up having leftover, and I just have about that much on there. And then I just take my finger and dot it. There is a shade lighter, so I will be grabbing that for wintertime, because we know that this is my summer color. So what I like to do is take that same foundation brush and rub it on the finger I use to dot it, just to grab it up, and then I just dab to get things going, and then I'll start swirling in a minute. But this has, and I still have a bunch left on my hand. Don't forget to get under your jawline too. I just love this foundation. I wish I was better at describing things, but it's kind of like a satin semi-matte. I wouldn't say it's not a matte, it's not dewy, it's just, I don't want to say glowing because people with oily skin won't want to use this. It's just such a your skin, let's just say it's a your skin but better. Like if you were well rested, well hydrated, and about 8 years old. So this gives pretty good coverage. I'd say it's definitely a medium finish. You could make it full if you wanted to add more. The good thing is it covers up blemishes pretty well, but I've had some recent breakouts. First, let me do my usual Prep and Prime in I call it Prep and Prime, but it's really the highlighting pen in the shade Radiant Rose. There are other shades. So if you are not quite as fair as I am, there's a more peachy salmon tone one that's a little darker. I'll list it below. I can't remember the exact name. I want to say it's like peach something, and it's definitely better suited for more mid-tone olive skin tone. If you want that same brightening effect under the eye, this is going to be too light for anyone with a medium complexion. So I keep forgetting to mention that, but there it is. So for my face, my trusty favorite all year has been the Clé de Peau Beauté. I love that concealer. I bumped up a shade. I think I'm shade 15 now instead of 10. Had a few little breakouts. I went to this makeup demo. I didn't know it was gonna be a demo, and they made me take all my makeup off and then put on their own skincare, and clearly my skin didn't like it. So let's take care of that. I get a lot of questions about all the different brushes and things I use. I did a video last month about like my everyday hero products and brushes and things like that. I will link that up there and down in the description box, because that is not going to change, I don't think, for the foreseeable future. Although I did just add this foundation. We're just going to brighten with the concealer instead of the corrector, and for that, damp beauty blender. Okay, time to set things. This should look familiar. It's the Laura Mercier setting powder. Set, and then on the face, I used, and still use, this is handier for travel than loose powder. So my MAC Mineralized Skin Finish in medium. Just whack that on. So I picked up this palette. It's thinking that there's no way I'm gonna get a full face out of this, but I'll give it a go. It's the Charlotte Tilbury Instant Look in a Palette 5-minute face on the go. I don't know about, maybe it would be 5 minutes if I didn't talk. And it has 3 eyeshadows, highlighter, bronzer, and like 2 blushes. Charlotte Tilbury's got this technique where she uses a more neutral shade and then she does a pop on the apples of your cheeks. So that's why there's 2 shades there, and it totally worked. I didn't think it was gonna work, but it did. This is what I did every day. I did bring 1 palette to supplement for some matte tones, but this thing is amazing. And this mirror was, I could not have done my makeup without this mirror because the lighting wasn't great. So I could have this right in my face and up close and I could see everything and it was wonderful. Okay, so let's start with my fave bronzer. And this most of the time did double duty as my crease shade as well. So the trick here, because there's not a lot of surface area on this, is I just keep spinning the brush and rotating it to make sure I get the bronzer all over it. Because obviously they want this to be travel friendly, so they're not gonna send you off with like a full-size bronzer and highlighter. And I should say I have the full-size bronzer and highlighter in the Filmstar Bronze and Glow, and that is much easier to dip in. But for travel purposes, obviously, they're not gonna send you with something that huge. So anyway, I really do like this bronzer. Obviously, I bought it twice now. It's more blendable than other ones I've tried. It comes in other shades if you want something a little darker. They have a medium one. This is the light. It's a little more, I'd say, beginner friendly as well. It blends really nicely. It's hard to overdo it. I'm trying to overdo it because I'm so not suntanned. So now I'm for highlighter, and I don't think you're gonna be able to pick this up, but it's stamped in the palette, like face, cheek, eye, and so forth. So I really also like this highlighter because, again, it's not like in your face crazy. So I feel like definitely appropriate for daytime, nighttime, all the time. So I'm gonna show you the full Monty, so to speak. On the cruise, I really only used this shade, this brighter shade, which was really fun. But first, you take the darker shade of the 2, get it on your brush, tap, and just kind of concentrate that more towards the back of your face, closer to your ears, I should say. Swirl that around. Kind of marries the highlighter and the bronzer. And then I dip it into that pink peach coral shade. It's very kind of just neutral, I'd say. And it's literally the cheek pop. You pop it on the apples of your cheeks. So pop, pop. And then, of course, blending is good. So, of course, first, my eyebrow. So I always pencil in first and then go over with a brow gel. And I'm still loving the Anastasia brow pencil. I did not pick up the Charlotte Tilbury one, but I did get the Charlotte Tilbury brow mascara. And you're going to see that one in just a minute. I have spoken in my Instagram lives. If you missed those, they're quite fun. We have a good time. I've been asked a lot about microblading. Is that what it's called? When you have your eyebrows basically semi-permanently tattooed on, and I've always kind of poo-pooed it. But I did notice, especially on the cruise, that the most time-consuming part of my makeup routine is filling in the tails of my brows, which I believe is a kind of a side effect of having hypothyroidism. And now I'm realizing, you know what? I might go for it. I'm seriously thinking about it. So here is another Charlotte Tilbury product. This one is called the Legendary Brows. So I love the packaging, but I really don't. I think there are other options. The brush is super tiny, super, super tiny, which initially I thought that is great. The problem is it's really hard to get it in there without getting it, for some reason, all over my face. I have a hard time getting enough product under the brows to leave some color, because I didn't get clear. I got the blondish color without getting it on my face. I find it a little harder to maneuver. That could be just me, but I wish that I love how fine it is, but because the bristles are so short, I have a hard time getting the product on. That being said, it's really hard to overdo it. So, I mean, I definitely see the pluses, but I wish the design was a tad bit different. I will say the actual product, though, doesn't get crunchy and it doesn't flake. So I can appreciate that. I'm just not in love with the design of this brush. Back to my hero palette here. I really like this little guy. Okay, so it doesn't have a mid-tone eyeshadow for your crease, but you know what? The bronzer works really nicely. And I just dip a fluffy brush in there and use that for some definition. And that really works perfectly. I really like it. I'd say the only thing this palette doesn't have that would make it absolutely perfect is a matte or satin cream shade for the brow bone. That's it. I do have the cream shade from this Clinique Teddy Bear palette, which is also very handy for travel. Now the shade I've used so much, I've worn off all the stamping on it. This is the first shade, and this shade is meant to be all over the lid, just to be worn alone if you want to. And if you were gonna do that, I would probably just use more like a MAC 217 brush just to kind of not pack on the color. But since I'm gonna layer this with a few other things, I'm using a MAC 239 brush, which is a flat brush to kind of make the color a little more packed on. But it's one of those really forgiving shades that you really can't mess it up. On to step 2. And this is more of like an eye definer, they call it. I use like a 217 and I put it on the flat part and I get the tip in because you're gonna see what I do. I lay the flat part on the outer third, and I kind of pat it on, and then I take the tip to bring it up into the crease. Give you a little more color that way. So pat it on with the flat, and then with the tip part, bring it up into the crease. About midway. Just like that. Before I forget, I'm going to go back into that bronzer with the pencil brush and just run that underneath the eye for some definition. Usually I left it like this. If I wanted to zhuzh it up a little more for evening, then I would go in with this darkest brown shade here, which isn't that dark, and just define that outer crease a little bit. So you can see, let me blend it out a little bit. You can see it just gives it a little more. Actually wear this during the day sometimes too, but for most people this might be more than they need. So if you just want to zhuzh it up just that much more for evening, just use that last color right there. Now with all this blending and laying out of colors, the lid gets a little smudgy, so just go back in with your flat brush and pop some more on. Then I'm going to go back with my pencil brush that I've rubbed off on the towel that you can't see in my lap. I'm going in with the highlighter shade, and I'm just popping that in the outer corner, or the inner corner, sorry, inner corner. I want to mention another Charlotte Tilbury product I've had for a really long time. I actually bought this last summer. It's one of her Color Chameleon, this one is Champagne Diamonds for Eyes. It's basically an eyeshadow crayon, and I'll just show you here. They're very creamy. There's a lot of shimmer to it. I love the concept. I have found personally that the glitter that's in it falls down all over my face, so I don't reach for it as much as I would like, but I love the color. It reminds me very much of one of my favorite Chanel cream shadows. So if anyone has some advice on how to keep the glitter up here and not down here, please let me know. So let's do liner, and then we'll get to lashes. So liner, trusty. This one is Estee Lauder Brown Burgundy, I believe it's called. Burgundy Spice, maybe? Burgundy Suede, sorry. And, you know, just a basic brown liner, not all that exciting. Let me pop this on, I'll be right back. Now, another Charlotte Tilbury product that I actually really do like is the mascara. It's called Legendary Lashes. And what I like is you don't have to, you know, it was good at the first go. You know how some mascaras, you gotta wait for it to dry down, they're too wet, they're whatever. And black, so dark black. So I'm gonna start with the bottom lashes first, and I'm barely touching them. It's a big, fat, multi-bristled brush, and it just gets in your lashes, and I really do like it. Tipping my head back, and then I'll just show you how it looks on one eye as compared to an eye that doesn't have it on. That's one coat on this eye, as opposed to nothing on this guy. I love it. All right, let's even this thing out. And if I wanted to add anything for evening, I rarely did, but when I did, not gonna be a shocker what I'm about to pick up. It's the Chanel Illusion d'Ombre, and it's in the shade Convoitise. It's 90. I just use a flat synthetic brush. This is one that came with one of the Urban Decay palettes, one of the Naked palettes. I can't remember which one. And I just pop it on to the lid wherever the lighter shade was, avoiding that outer corner. Just like that. Just a little more shimmer, just a little more something, something. And let's talk about the lips. Okay, do you see this? How sad is this? This is my Charlotte Tilbury Lip Cheat Lip Pencil in the shade Pillow Talk. It's my all-time favorite lip pencil. I've had this for a very long time. Rowdy apparently enjoyed it as well and started chewing on it. I rescued it. So I'm just gonna line my lips. I did not do the lining part every day, but I wanted you to see this thing. If you buy one Charlotte Tilbury product, grab this lip cheat. There's another one, another shade, I think it's Nude something, I'll list it below, which is equally amazing. I've sampled it, but I don't own it, so if you want something a little less pink. But this Pillow Talk shade, there are many days I only wear this with a little bit of lip gloss. So let me line my lips because I can't talk and do that at the same time, and I'll be right back. So my two favorite standout products is this lipstick and the lip liner, which do not need to be worn together. I just wanted you to see, it's very subtle, it's easy to work with the lip liner. But this lipstick, I've heard people raving about this on YouTube, for years now, and just kind of like, yeah, sure, it's great, whatever. It is. Okay, so this is the famous lipstick. I'll list the full name in the description box, but the shade, pardon my language, it's called, I didn't name it, they did, it's called Bitch Perfect, because bitch, it's perfect. I think that's what they were thinking. I don't know. It is a perfect Your Lips But Better, kind of pink, kind of like not brown, but you know what I'm saying? Like that neutral, kind of just Your Lips But Better. It's a semi-matte finish, so it's just creamy, but it stays put. It stays on for a really long time. It feels really nice on the lips. It has a very, very faint kind of frosting scent, but I mean, I have to stick it in my nose. So I don't really notice a scent like other lipsticks might have. It's the perfect everyday lipstick. All right, let me fix my hair and then we will chat. So this is my full face from day to evening that I wore pretty much every day on the cruise. I switched out a lipstick, but here and there, but for the most part, this is what I wore every single day. So I would love to hear from you. What are, particularly from the Charlotte Tilbury line, what are some of your faves? What are some of the ones that you think should be skipped? Are there any that should be skipped? I look forward to reading your comments in the comments below, so please feel free to jump in on the conversation, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.